What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here to preview the massive game this weekend. Tottenham against Manchester United, the Carabao Cup quarter-final. Spurs are hopefully en route to Wembley. 3 games away from a Wembley final, and this is our biggest game of the season so far. And it is, I'm already getting a bit of butterflies, getting a bit nervy for the game. It's so important. I can't stress that enough.
Massive for our season. It's massive for Ange himself as well, with the pressure he's under. And obviously it was a win on Sunday, which was much needed. But if we can get this win tomorrow, get into a semi-final come the new year, where hopefully we have some players coming back and we'll have a bit of a fully fit squad and more options, then all of a sudden our season, the shape of our season, looks in a completely different direction. And albeit we've got some difficult league games coming up, we know that we've been starved of a trophy for so long, no trophies since 2008, and it's just a chance to get into a semi-final, and anything can happen at that point. So Man United, obviously off the back of a big win in the Manchester derby, not going to be easy, them coming to the Tottenham Stadium, but as well, I'm sure they'll be feeling the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start off with the predicted lineup. Ange has been speaking in his press conference as of the last hour, and obviously there's a big extensive injury list here.
Yeah, and I guess the bad news is Mickey van der Ven. Obviously, we were wondering how long his injury was going to be. And he's confirmed that Van der Ven has had a setback and we're not going to see him now until the new year, which is pretty gutting. He said about he said about Destiny Udogie that he didn't pick up an injury against Southampton, albeit going off early, but he does still feel a bit sore after Sunday, and with the turnaround after the game, we'll see if he makes it. Obviously, Romero, he confirmed, isn't going to be seen until the new year as well, because we're waiting for confirmation on that one about how long he's going to be out for, and as well, he's not going to be seen until the new year. More positive news about Mikey Moore and Ben Davis. He said that Mikey Moore's back in training, and hopefully next week he'll be seen. Ben Davis as well. Hopefully next week he'll be back in training, so hopefully we'll see him before the new year. So that's more positive news, but they're not going to be available for tomorrow. And obviously long-term absentees, Richarlison, Odegaard, Vicario, not going to be seen definitely until the new year, probably past that. In terms of Richarlison, though, he said hopefully in the first week of the new year he'll be back. That's positive. It says they're Sonned out, but he didn't mention Son, so hopefully he's all right.
Yeah, Sonny, I think, picked up something in the Southampton game in the first half. I think it was just a little knock that, hopefully he's not out. I think I'm fully expecting him to play. So hopefully no worries there. He didn't mention it.
So I'm assuming he's fit to play. And he kind of said it was only precaution. So hopefully, sounds like he should be all right for tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into the predicted lineup. This should be your lineup, the predicted lineup to take on Manchester United in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow night. 4-3-3 as per usual. And in goal will obviously be, I've got to say it now, the ever-reliable Fraser Forster.
Exactly. He's been in great form, hasn't he, ever since he's come into the team. So fair play to him. Another good performance. Ange, with another little jab at his press conference, was asked about Fraser Forster. He's good form, and he said, I know he's a good keeper. Doesn't shock me how well he's playing. He's so good I even put him in my Europa League squad, he said. So a bit of a jab to people, I guess, criticising him for doing that. But yeah, he's obviously going to start, and he's probably going to have a big game again, because, United, look, they're not playing amazingly at the moment, but in this kind of game, with the way they play, they're going to be a tough nut to crack, and if he can make some big saves, that can go a long way to getting us over the line, hopefully.
Fullbacks are going to be very interesting here, because obviously Pedro Porro is just knackered at the moment. He's being overplayed. He's not playing well at the moment. Destiny, he said in the press conference that he's not injured, just a bit sore, and he might be in contention to play tomorrow night. I think one of them is a certainty, in terms of Jed Spence. I think Jed Spence definitely plays. It's just about where Jed plays and who plays in terms of Porro or Udogie. What are you thinking?
I think, given that Udogie's sore, and given that we've got obviously a big game on Sunday as well, and also the fact that he rushed Van der Ven and Romero back, and it kind of backfired. It's clear to see now, it definitely backfired on that stage, and that was a mistake. Does he want to make the same mistake with Destiny if he is feeling sore? Yes, Porro's needed a rest. Obviously, he got half an hour of a rest on Sunday before having to come on. But at the end of the day, Archie Gray has to play centre-back, so he can't be an option there at the moment. So I think Porro's going to have to play, and I think Spence will go left-back. That's my thinking.
The thing is with that, right, and I do agree with you, I would like to see Destiny not play this game just because of that situation. But Pedro Porro, I mean, he's playing so much. He looks so tired. Surely, he is a massive risk of an injury as well.
But who's more of a risk, him or Udogie?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both massive. I mean, Udogie is a bigger risk, obviously, because he's got the soreness. But, I mean, Pedro as well, I think, is a massive risk. And if there was someone else that we could play, I'll probably do that. But we're just so limited with options now, aren't we? There's just no one else.
Unless you want to put Gray there and play Dorrington. That's the only other option. And I just don't see him doing that in a big quarter-final. So I think we're going to have to play one of Destiny or Porro. Maybe it's a case of, Porro gets an hour and maybe Doggy can play half an hour and Spence can move over. He even said Spence, though, was tired after the game and he was limping at the end, albeit no sign of him being out. But he said he was very tired because, it was his first start of the season. So I think one of them's going to play. I think you have to play Spence just because he's the freshest one and he had a good game, so there's no real reason not to play him. So I think give Udogie a rest with a view of him playing Sunday against Mo Salah.
All right, let's do that. So Porro right back, Jed Spence at left back. And you know what? On the back of that performance from Spence last week against Southampton, I mean, he just deserves to play regardless of injuries and what have you. So big up to Jed Spence. He's been brilliant. I think centre-back pairing picks itself, doesn't it? Archie Gray and Radu Dragusin. And I think Archie Gray, ever since moving to that centre-back position, since the injuries that we did have, he's done really well.
He has. And to look, credit to him, I think obviously this is going to be his biggest test yet because he's only started against Rangers and against Southampton. And we know they're not the easiest games, but they're not also the hardest games as well. And, coming up against the likes of Højlund, potentially, Amad Diallo, Bruno Fernandes, these are top level players. And this is going to be a much bigger test for him, especially physically. Adam Armstrong isn't the most physical forward, and Højlund or Xerxes definitely like to get physical and pin you back and ask different questions of you. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I'm actually not as worried about him on the ball, and composure-wise and break his passing range, breaking through lines, that kind of stuff. I think that stuff I think he's more than capable of. So look, it's all about, can Radu help him out? Can Spence come over and help him out and make sure he's protected? Whoever's playing in the number 6, which we'll get into, can they make sure that they're not leaving Archie Gray exposed defensively? I think we've been doing a good job of doing that over the last couple games, and we're going to have to do that again on tomorrow. But the problem with that is the way Man United play, with the wing backs, inside forwards, everyone's going to have players to pick up. So look, hopefully Dragusin can help Gray through the game, but it's definitely his biggest test. But look, Dragusin as well, credit to him, he's been playing really well, definitely developing. I think this run of games is helping him out. The fact, yes, it's been forced upon him, but beginning of the season, in and out of the team, coming in here and there in Europa League games, and clearly he was struggling for consistency. Some games really good, some games not. But I think since what game was it? That first game he first came in, I can't remember which one it is. Like a few games ago, after Van de Ven and Romero got injured, he's been coming in consistently. I think since then he's actually been pretty good. I don't think he's had too many bad games. Yeah,
I think what I'm really pleased with him about is since he's had Gray alongside him, he's just he's been that leader at the back really, and he's really helping Gray through games. So I'm really happy with Radu.
I guess since the Ipswich game, I think he's been pretty good.
Yeah, he has. I can't fault him. So big up to Radu Dragusin as well. I don't think many people are making too much out of his displays as well. So he's going quietly under the radar, but he's doing really well.
He's our senior centre-back at the ripe old age of 22, I think.
Unbelievable, isn't
mad.
it?
Yeah, obviously,
unbelievable.
With Gray being 18. So fair play to Radu. Hopefully he carries on against United.
Moving into the midfield, you're going to talk about the number 6. Obviously, Lucas Bergvall has played there. He's looked pretty good in cameo since coming on. But I feel in a game like this, and with Bissouma being rested, Bentancur's still suspended. So I think it will be Yves Bissouma.
Yeah, I do as well. I think Bissouma comes in and takes that position. I know Bergvall's done well, and he's had some really good cameos as well. So maybe he can be an option in future games.
Even off the bench tomorrow.
Even off the bench if Bissouma's not playing well. And I know Bissouma, in his last start against Chelsea, really shat the bed and did some inexplicable things that you don't expect from an experienced player. But hopefully we see a bit of a reaction to that. We've seen Basuma before where he's had a bit of a setback and he can come in and have a reaction and in a positive way. And we're going to need him in this game. You know, United, big physical team, players like Ugarte, potentially Casemiro or Kobe Mainoo in the middle. I think we're going to need that physicality from Basuma and his ability. And we know when he's at his best, he can do the job. So we're going to need him.
The thing is with Basuma as well, like I feel like the last 2 or 3 games has been really poor from him. However, but he's been playing a lot of football. So maybe tiredness did have a bit to play in that. So with him having that suspension, maybe it was a bit of a blessing in disguise for us because he got put out the firing line a little bit. Now he's a week since his last game. So hopefully he's nicely rested and he can come in here in full form. Moving in to the number 8, and I think it will be Pape Matar Sarr, obviously with a stunning performance last week against Southampton. And let's hope, because it was a return to form for Pape because he's been off the boil a little bit in the past couple of games before that. So let's hope he's back at it again.
Yeah, Pape Sarr has been fantastic last few games. I think he's been really a kind of a shining light against Southampton. I actually thought he was having a bit of poor form before the Southampton game.
That's what I said, yeah.
And then he got taken off. He got rested against Rangers, and that kind of rest really did him good because he looked so fresh against Southampton. So let's hope he carries on that form. And again, that running power. He usually does have a good game against Man United as well. I remember last season he had a really good game against Man United.
Didn't he?
Scored at the Tottenham Stadium. Had a good game. He actually didn't start at Old Trafford this season. He came off the bench and got an assist, didn't he? So going to be very important in this game, Pape Matar Sarr, especially the way United played, those wide wing-backs, forcing Tottenham really far out wide and forcing us to cover so much ground. I think Pup's energy is going to be really vital. Yeah,
absolutely. And alongside him in midfield, as you can see on screen, is going to be James Maddison for that 3-man midfield of Basuma, Sarr and Maddison, which... I think it's a good midfield, to be honest. And I think Maddison, obviously, on the back of a top performance, probably his best in the Spurs shirt against Southampton. A bigger test here.
Definitely. We've seen him step up in big games this season. At Old Trafford, he was brilliant earlier in the season as well. So, brilliant performance for him on Sunday against Southampton. So, hopefully, he can build on that. And I think in these kind of games where Man United play that 2 in midfield, having someone like Maddison who can kind of try and outnumber them and try and ask different questions of that midfield. That's going to be the key in this kind of game. Can we dominate that area in possession, play around that midfield and kind of get in between the lines, that space in between those 3 centre-backs and those 2 midfielders? I think Maddison is perfect for that. So I think we're going to need him in this game.
Yeah, right wing, obviously a toss-up between Decky and Brennan Johnson. Brennan just really not playing well at the moment. Last couple of games he's been pretty much anonymous. But with Dejan Kulusevski, obviously, he's been our player of the season this year, and there's no chance he doesn't play.
You're not going to leave him out, are you? He's going to have to play. And look, to be fair to him, a cut of our best 2 performances in the last few weeks have been with him on the right. I also feel like as well the way
last few months.
Well, yeah, whatever. The last 2 wins we've had, good wins, have been with him on the right. And obviously, we're not going to leave him out. And I think as well, the way Man United play, because they play that wing-back system, when they defend, they kind of defend with the 5. And I think where the space can really be got at is in between that wing-back and the wide centre-back. And I think Decky, the way he cuts inside, can really maybe be perfect for exploiting that. And he's also, hopefully, could be good at committing that wide centre-back out wide to create more space in the middle. So looks like it could be Harry Maguire in that position, or could be Martinez, one of the 2.
I think it'll be Martinez.
Either way, I think Decky will back himself in those kind of situations if he pulls them out wide in a 1-1 situation. So I think Decky's the right man for this job right now.
You know what, as well, if Decky coming up against Martinez, we know Martinez is a bit of a hothead. He likes to dive into challenges, and we know Decky as well likes to draw a lot of fouls in a game and contest with a lot of duels and stuff like that. I mean, he should be looking at that and trying to get him sent off. Like that should be a plan for Decky in this game.
Definitely, really frustrate him.
He's so much bigger than him physically as well.
Yeah, he can stand up to him for sure. I know they call him the Butcher, but I think Decky, we know how physical he is, we know how strong he is, and he's not going to be bullied by anyone. So I think Martinez, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to bully him and gets frustrated at the fact that he can't.
In the number 9, obviously it will be big Dom Solanke. Expected a bit better from Dom Solanke in the last couple of games, but in a big game like this, I'm sure he'll be up for it.
he's got an really important role because, as we say, Man United going to be playing 3 centre-backs. So he's going to have a very difficult job, not just with the pressing free kind of centre-backs, but as well when we're getting crosses in the box, he's going to be up against 3 defenders in there. It's going to be very congested, and we're going to need him to be at his very best with his movement, making sure he's using different ways to get ahead of the defenders, finding any space he can in that middle, and trying to physically dominate any of the centre backs that he can. And that's going to be very, very difficult. And if he can't do that, making sure he can make the ball stick and bring other players into play, which we know he's very, very good at. We've seen him this season struggle against teams who play a back 3. Spurs in general have, but I think he's also struggled to make as much of an impact when teams do that. So he's going to have to do that tomorrow, and I think he's got a very, very important role to play.
And then to make up that final 11 on the left-hand side will be Son Heung-min, the captain. And, we brought you the stats a couple of days ago in terms of his link-up with James Maddison and the stats regarding win percentage with James Maddison and Sonny in the team, and it makes for good reading.
Definitely, and they clearly have a good relationship on that left-hand side. If Mazraoui is out, I think he will definitely be looking at that situation thinking I can take advantage of that, because I think Mazraoui is by far their best fullback or wing-back, and they might move Dalot over there. I know he's good as well, but I think Sonny will fancy his chances on that side. Again, in the, similar to on the right-hand side, that space between the wing-back and the wide centre-back is where Sonny is at his best as well, in that kind of area. So if he can get in between the lines there and kind of get any sort of opportunities, that could be really, really important in this game. So I think obviously Sonny got a rest at half time on Sunday, so clearly I think that was in view of starting him in this game. So he definitely comes in, and he's obviously got a very important role to play.
Yes, let's run through that lineup. As you can see on screen, it's Fraser Forster in goal, right back Pedro Porro, left back Jed Spence, Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray as the centre back pairing, Bissouma and Pape. Do you reckon that's a double pivot, or do you reckon Bissouma will be the lone 6?
I feel like it might be a double pivot.
I hope it is,
because because United play with kind of 2 in the middle, a bit like how we did under Conte. So I think we're gonna need both of them in that position, and Maddison kind of floating in between the line, knowing he's got that protection behind him.
That's what I want it to be anyway. With James Maddison in the 10, Decky on the right, Sonny on the left, and big Dom Solanke up top. So that is our predicted lineup to take on Manchester United in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup. Let us know if you agree. If you disagree, put your lineups in the comments section below. But yeah, it's what a big game it is this tomorrow night. It really is. I can't stress it enough. Maybe we could take the overlay off now. But yeah, let's move into the match preview. Massive, massive game under the lights, and I really hope the fans are going to be up for this one, because we're going to need that 12th man going into this game. We know sometimes the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium can be a bit quiet, but I think in nights like these, you can trust that stadium is going to be rocking, can't you? It's going to be a cauldron. The Spurs fans know how much this means. The Spurs fans just dying for a trophy, and this is our best route to a trophy this season. Already in the quarterfinals, you go and beat Manchester United. The other quarterfinals, as it stands, are tonight actually, and let's just bring it up quickly. So you got Liverpool against Southampton. You got Arsenal against Crystal Palace, and who's the other one?
Brentford, Newcastle.
So I mean, we were speaking about it. I never like speaking about this kind of thing before the fact, particularly before Spurs play, but if a few results go our way, a lot of the big teams will probably rest a couple of players tonight. You're looking at a real big opportunity for Spurs if we can get over the line.
Obviously, it's the favourites, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle could easily all go through, and all of a sudden, even if you win tomorrow, you're looking at that lineup and thinking it's still going to be very, very difficult even to get to the final. But if one of Palace or Southampton or Brentford can spring a surprise, all of a sudden, we win tomorrow, and we could be playing one of Palace or Brentford or Southampton in a semi-final with a view of getting to a final, which would be a really good opportunity. So look, don't want to get ahead of yourselves. You just have to win. We have to focus on winning tomorrow, but obviously we'll definitely have a keen eye on tonight to see how the results go, because if any surprises have been sprung, hopefully it'll just add more motivation for us going into tomorrow.
It's hard to read too much into the form of particularly Man United, because they've just got Ruben Amorim. He's just like feeling his way into the job, doesn't really know his best 11 as of yet. But I think he's had an okay start to life. 3 wins and 2 losses in the last 5 games. I think he's only taken charge of 3 of those games, I believe. Was it 3rd game?
Fourth. This will be his 5th game, I think.
Yeah, so this will be his 5th game. Massive win against Manchester City last time out, turned the game around. But the way I've seen Manchester United so far under Ruben Amorim is like they're fairly solid defensively if they're not making mistakes at the back. And they're kind of not that great going forward.
This will be his 8th game.
Oh, his 8th game.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were all under Ruben Amorim in those games. But they are a bit blunt going forward. I think he's just trying to solidify that defence first and foremost. But they do have an Amad Diallo, who's, I think, been their best player this season. You're looking at their best 2 players this season. It's probably been Amad Diallo and Nordin Mazraoui. Mazraoui is a doubt coming into this game, which could be a benefit for us. But I am worried about coming up against Amad Diallo in this game. But how do you kind of assess Manchester United under Ruben Amorim so far?
I think it's been decent. Obviously, they've had some really poor performances. They lost to Nottingham Forest at home. I thought against Arsenal they defended well, but they were never really in the game. Apart from obviously Arsenal scoring from set pieces, but they never really threatened Arsenal too much. I thought.
Do you not think though, like in that Nottingham Forest game, like in terms of the performance level, they probably deserved more out of the game?
Not particularly. I thought they defended really poorly in that game. So, I mean, and also I thought, especially at 3-1, they got it back to 3-2, and they didn't really create anything after that moment. So, I don't come away with it thinking they were really unlucky. Like I think they conceded some really poor goals. They didn't create that much. So I don't think it was a great performance. I don't think they were terrible, but especially before conceding going down 3-1, they weren't bad. But you look at the manner of the goals they conceded; it was really, really poor. Really poor defending. So I don't see that as a game that they were unlucky in.
I just felt like the performance was actually all right. If you take, obviously the defensive mishaps and Onana put a bit of a clanger in that game as well. But I'm looking past those kind of mistakes, and I'm talking about like a general performance level over the course of the game. And I just felt like that performance against Nottingham Forest's level of performance probably deserved more than a lot. Maybe a draw was probably a fair result.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't come away with it feeling. I didn't feel like they were terrible and it should have been a drubbing. But I didn't come away with it feeling they were super unlucky and they really unlucky not to get anything. I didn't feel like that anyway. I thought games against the Victoria Pilsen game, obviously another defensive mishap, put them 1-0 down, and then they ended up turning it around late on. I thought on the weekend they were not great for about 70 minutes. I thought as much as City were terrible, United didn't really look like offering much, to be honest. And 20 minutes to go, they did give it a real good go. And I think fair enough, they probably deserved something out of the game for how they finished the game. But for large parts of that game, they were also just as much out of the game as I felt Man City were. And it was a really poor game of football, I thought, for a lot of that game. But, that late turnaround, you can't say they didn't deserve to at least get one goal, because they were definitely creating chances late in that game. Diallo forced a save out of Ederson. Bruno had a one-on-one, which he lobbed the keeper and put it wide where he should have scored. But they also got a huge slice of luck. That penalty was nothing to do with anything United did. It was just an absolute brain fart from Núñez. And so they got lucky with that moment. But the winning goal was a moment of quality from Amad, albeit, again, Man City will definitely be feeling like they should have stopped that goal. But it was a moment of brilliance. And from Man United's point of view, Amad had a brilliant game, and he was causing, obviously he won the penalty, and he was causing Man City problems all day. He was probably the only one that was doing that. And that goal was good reward for what was a brilliant performance, and the piece of skill to lob the keeper on the stretch like he did and then volley it home was absolutely fantastic, and just shows the quality that he does have. And obviously he's a kid who's been on loan for a bit since he's come to United. He's talked about him. He was brilliant at Sunderland. Was it last year or 2 years ago? And
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And then last season, I thought late in the season he was playing really well when he came into the team, but Ten Hag, for some reason, didn't trust him enough. And I thought this season as well, he should have had more game time from what I was seeing from him. And since Amorim's come in, he's played at wing back, he's played in the front three, and whatever role he's asked to do, he's been brilliant, and he's really done a good job. So he's obviously one to watch out for tomorrow, because he's in confident mood, and he's obviously one who scored the winner on the weekend, and he's he'll be thinking, I can take this form into the game on Thursday. And if he does start, I know Amorim's been changing the team a lot, but if he does start, he's one who's going to be a massive threat.
Yeah, Amorim, I think the one game he didn't start Ahmad was the Arsenal game, and he came on in the second half, and he was actually the only one to get the ball and start asking questions of that Arsenal defence. He started running at them, causing a few problems, but obviously, nothing came from it. But at least he was asking questions, and I've been like I said before, I've been so impressed with him, and he's the one player that Man U have that really worry me coming into this game, because he's a player that will commit your defenders. He's the one that will just run at you, and we know like sometimes our defenders aren't the best at their one-on-one defending. And if he was coming up against let's say he comes up against a doggy on that side, if a doggy does start, like a doggy, not 100% fit, a doggy, his one-on-one defending hasn't been great this season, so that's a clear avenue where they can get us. Particularly, they're going to go 5 at the back as well, and we've struggled massively against 5 at the back teams.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is if they're with the wing-back system, those 2 number 10s, either they find space or the wing-backs are going to find space. It's kind of like pick your poison at the moment. And the way we play is actually more likely the wing-backs are going to find space, because we play very, very narrow. And it means that maybe Ahmad won't be getting as much space as he has in other games. But it also means that the likes of Dalot and whoever they play at left-back, maybe Malacia, might be getting a lot more space out wide.
But you know what? If Managerial is out, I think if Ruben is clever, he plays Ahmad at wing-back.
Potentially, but then, does that leave too much? I think I wouldn't mind that. Because
I think he can have such an influence on the game if he does that.
But then as well, is he going to be doing the defending for Son? Is he going to be tracking back? Is that going to give Son too much space? But
they do have the insurance policy of 3 at the back.
I know, but if you asked Ange, who would he rather have at wing back, Ahmad or Dalot? Because if they play Dalot there, all of a sudden when they're defending, it kind of turns into a bit of a 5, and it turns a lot harder to break down. Whereas if they got Ahmad there, he's going to be always looking forward. And look, that could mean we could be hurt more going forward, but it also means there's going to be more space for our forwards as well. So I think if you asked Ange, who would he rather play there, I reckon he would rather Diallo plays there.
Potentially, but I do think like if Ahmad plays wing back, they will hurt us more going the other way. As much as they've not been great, their XG doesn't make for good reading since Ruben Amorim has come in, but I think that will increase if Ahmad does play wing back. And I think if he, from a defensive point of view, it won't be as strong, but they do have that insurance policy of playing 3 at the back. So I still think the way Ruben sets up the team, Dalot or Diallo, it'll still be fairly strong at the back for them.
Yeah, I mean, either way,
he's got the energy levels to get up and down.
Diallo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how good he is defensively. He's been filling in at wing back and he's done well. We've seen.
What was that game he played at wing back? Because I thought he was brilliant that day.
Was it a Europa League game or no? It was Everton.
Everton, that was it.
But that game as well. I mean, if you watch back that game, I know they won 4-0, but I don't think that game reflected how it really went. I think it was a lot closer than the scoreline suggested. To answer the first question you answered, how do I assess Amorim under United? They're clearly a work in progress. I think that's clear. I don't think they're playing amazing at the moment. I think he's stabilised it a bit, and they're clearly learning the system. And there's clearly at the moment things they're still not 100% on, and that was always going to happen after 8 games, especially coming in mid-season where they've had no pre-season. There's always going to be trying to work it out, and I think Tottenham could take advantage of the fact that they're still so early in that process and they haven't quite worked out how to fully work the system. But they showed on the weekend that they're still capable of getting a result away at a good team, and they showed as well against Everton, even though they didn't play amazingly, I felt they're still capable of scoring goals with the players they got. But I think Tottenham should come into this game not fearing them, but asking questions of Man United, and that's what they're going to do. We know that Tottenham are going to go for it. We know that Tottenham are going to go into this game not worried about what Man United will do to us, but more asking questions of Man United, and they should be worried about what we're going to do to them. And that's the approach that we are going to do. I think it's probably the right approach, because are Man United fully there yet? Probably not. And should we try and take advantage of as much of the uncertainty as possible? We probably should. And we need to go full force. We need to get in their faces, start the games like we did against Chelsea and Southampton, pressing from the front, making sure we're being aggressive, and unsettle them. And if you can unsettle them and get an early goal, are they the team like a Chelsea or even a Brighton who are going to be completely cutting you open if you give them the space. We haven't seen that yet, just yet anyway. Maybe they'll show it tomorrow, but if we can have an early start, I don't know if Man United will be able to turn it around.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And Southampton, we got 2 goals in the opening. Well, we got 4 goals in the opening. What was it?
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
There's 2 games in a row in the Premier League anyway. We've scored twice in 12 minutes.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And if we can do that, I agree with you, because I feel like you've got Ahmad there, but apart from Ahmad, is there and Bruno obviously, is there, if Bruno is playing to the top of his capabilities, which is not every week, is there too much to be that worried about? Yes, we're going to have a makeshift back 4 out there with Archie Gray and Radu, and obviously, as we mentioned in the predicted lineup, this is Archie Gray's biggest test. And is he going to sink? Is he going to swim? I think it might be a bit nervy maybe early on for Archie, but as we know, that can be the case with him, and he does kind of raise his level throughout the game. So am I worried with having a makeshift back 4 against what United can throw at us? I'm not that worried about in that aspect, because I'm looking at Man U and I'm looking at the way they attack at the moment, and they don't seem to have that many avenues of attack. And if we can somehow keep Amad Diallo quiet, I don't really think they'll have much else.
I agree. I think Højlund's actually been scoring a few goals, but he's not some. I mean, look, he's not a bad player. I think his hold-up play is decent, but he's not someone where you feel like give him one chance he can score a goal. I think he needs a bit more space. He's very strong centre forward, but he's not the fastest forward. The one thing I'm a bit worried about is with all the talk of Rashford and Garnacho, over the last few days, if he puts them in with a point to prove, those are 2 players that could really hurt us, because they're pacey. When they're electric and energetic, they can hurt really good teams. I've seen them ask a lot of good teams questions when they're at their best, both those players. So, and they're the kind of players which we kind of struggle against. Those players who are very, very good in transition, very quick, very direct, and Rashford especially has a dynamite finish when you give him a chance.
Yeah.
So I am slightly worried that there's a lot of talk about those 2 at the moment, especially Rashford as well, him leaving and all that kind of stuff. And if kind of Amorim springs a surprise and puts them in with a point to prove, and everyone's already talking about Rashford leaving and stuff like that, and Garnacho, no one's even mentioned him after he got left out of the squad on Sunday. And I feel like if they're coming in as a surprise selection, that could be something I'm a bit more worried about. Yeah,
it's an interesting one with Rashford, isn't it? Because he comes out with an interview in Henry Windsor saying, yeah, I think I need a new challenge and all this kind of stuff. And then Amorim kind of responds to that in his press conference being like, yeah, you need a new challenge, but the new challenge is here. I just came, and it's a big, important challenge. And he's also just like, yes, Man United are a better team with Rashford in it, and all this kind of stuff. Like, where do you think that leaves Rashford? Is he gonna push for a move? Is he gonna leave in January? Is he gonna wait till the end of the season? Is he gonna leave then? And then there's another question, like with the wages that he's on, what, 350 grand a week, and his contract ain't up until 2028, the summer of 2028. Where can he go? I mean, there's rumours in the press that PSG don't want him. Barcelona apparently want him, but don't want to pay his wages. There's always the Saudi option there. I mean, where does that leave Marcus Rashford? Would you take him here on a short-term loan?
That's completely up in the air. Would I take him on a short-term loan? Yeah, I probably would, to be honest. Or for 6 months, I don't think we would lose much. I think
can't do worse than Werner.
Exactly. I mean, he can be an option for Timo Werner. Can sometimes play up front as well if we need him to be. If a forward of the quality of Rashford becomes available, obviously, I think, and he's English as well. He's in his peak years. We've seen in the Premier League what he's capable of. If he wants to come here for 6 months, I think I would take it. Would I sign him permanently? Is that something the club would do with the wage he's on? Would he even come here? Those questions, probably not. I would say it's an unlikely transfer to ever materialise. I don't think he's ever gonna see him in a Tottenham shirt. But if it was ever an option and there was something that was in the works and that was something that could be a possibility, I think I would do it. I think he actually profiles very similar to someone like Son in terms of on that left-hand side, very good finisher, can cause problems when he's restricted of space. He's not the kind of player who's really good at dribbling in tight spaces or anything like that. But in transition, he's deadly, absolutely deadly. Can be a bit two-footed as well. He's got absolute hammer of a shot, such power in that right foot. So I think any club that gets him, if they're getting a refreshed Rashford that's got a fresh mind and looking for something new, I think there's still a very good player in there. Now, for one reason or another, over the past couple of years, it's gone wrong for him at Man United, and I don't know if he's fallen out with managers, or he doesn't believe in the sporting project, or the pressure of being that Man United star boy, where he's getting so much criticism from people who, he wants to love him essentially as a Man United fan, and all these different things. Maybe the external pressure of being the main man at Man United has grown to be too much for him, and he just wants something new. Or maybe he's just an ambitious player who wants to be challenging right at the top, and he's been disillusioned with where Man United are going. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Whatever it is, everyone knows that a Rashford who's at his best on his game and his mind is right is an extremely good player, extremely exciting player. So if Tottenham were to convince him to come here, I'd probably be open to it, especially on a loan, because you don't really lose much and we're lacking options in the front line right now. But it's a fanciful thinking, I think. I don't think it's ever going to be something, unless United are willing to pay half his wages or something. I don't think that ever happens.
First of all, what you're saying about Rashford, I think the Marcus Rashford thing, this has followed him around his whole career so far in Manchester United, when you're talking about in terms of inconsistencies. I think when you actually look at it, I think he's only had about probably 2 top seasons for Manchester United. The guy's 27 years of age now, and you're talking about many managers that have come in. They seem to get an initial tune out of him, and then he goes off the boil. I think when you're looking at Rashford and can he fit the Spurs system, whenever I watch him, particularly in the last couple of years, he just frustrates the hell out of me. I feel like he's lazy on the pitch. He doesn't do the pressing required. And if he doesn't do the pressing required, is he ever going to fit into a Spurs team? I don't think so. So would I take him on a loan from now to the end of the season just to beef up the numbers? Yes. Would I consider, if Spurs could ever stump up some wages, or if they could get subsidised wages, would I ever consider him on a long-term thing? Even if he does do the business from now to the end of the season, probably not, because I feel like he will revert to type, and what type is for me. I think he's had more bad seasons than good seasons for Manchester United at the age of 27 right now. So I'm not a big fan of Marcus Rashford, albeit on his day he can be brilliant. That's the reality. But
we've seen players at Man United, very good players who just haven't, for some one reason or other, especially since Fergie left, they've brought in lots of good players that haven't worked out, and they've gone and left clubs and done a lot better. And maybe it's the environment of Man United that's not really conducive to top players keeping the top of their game or whatever. I don't know what the problem is at the moment, but Rashford is capable of scoring lots and lots of goals. We've seen that. It's not just 2 seasons. I can see here there's many seasons where he's gotten at least double figures in goals, or over 20 goal contributions.
I'm talking about proper good seasons. How many times has he scored over like 15 goals?
League goals twice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but goals and assists. Like, he's a winger. He's not always been playing up front.
Has he ever got into double figures of assists?
No. But he's got quite a good number of assists. There's 3, I can see here, 3 seasons where he's got over 20 goal contributions. There's 2 other seasons where he's got 16 goal contributions, 12 goal contributions. Now, in the last 4 years, only one of those seasons he's had over 20. But as I say, if you get his mind right, there's a player there. And that's do I believe Rashford is someone who is completely gone, he's just not working, you can't get him to work hard. I don't know. I don't know what his mind is like. To be honest, from what I've seen in Man United, his body language doesn't seem there. But is it because of all those things that I said, about where his head is at? Is his head not in the right place? Is that pressure about being Man United, being a Man United fan from a young boy, coming in as a teenager and being that kind of assigned, to essentially be the next big thing as a Man United star, and then being part of a generation of Man United teams which have really underperformed. And because he's been the figurehead of that, he's kind of, people look at him as the kind of figurehead of underperformance. And has that pressure been too much for him? When we've seen when he's at his best and when he's firing at his best, he's an exceptional player, and a player who's got unbelievable ability. And maybe being a Man United fan, that pressure is told, and he's been under relentless criticism from his own fans, let alone other fans in the Premier League,
and warranted criticism.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not warranted, but maybe that criticism has taken its toll on him, and that's where he is at this moment, where he's seeking a new challenge and he needs just new scenery, just needs a break from it all. Maybe that's it. Do I believe at 27 he's finished and he's not no use to anyone? I don't believe that. I think there's still a very good player there, and I think if you get him right, I think there's going to be a very lucky team who get a very good player, in my opinion.
Yeah, if he gets his head right, which is a big if at this moment in time. Like he's been too poor for too long, in my opinion. You're talking about, like, forget his whole Man United career. You said it right there. Like, one good season in his last 4 years, which is nowhere near good enough when you're looking at the ages that he's at as well. Like, he should be coming into the prime of his career right now. Mm-hmm. He should be, and I don't think he's anywhere near those levels. And every time I watch him play, he's nothing short of embarrassing.
You won't get back to those levels. You've given up on him.
I wouldn't say I've given up on him in terms of getting back to the levels. It all depends where his next move is. Like, if he goes out to Saudi, then what?
Well, then he's finished.
And where else can he go? Where else is he going to go? Because I don't think he's going to go anywhere else in the Premier League.
No.
I don't think he's going to go to PSG. Like, where else can he go?
Madrid have stacked, so they're not going to take him. Barca apparently have no interest. Atletico, he's not really an Atletico kind of player. I don't know where he goes. And anywhere he goes, he's either going to need United to subsidise the wages, which maybe at this point they'll be willing to do because they might be just desperate to get rid of him, or he's going to have to take a pay cut. One of the two. In
terms of Man U subsidising his wages, right, I guarantee you that won't be for Tottenham Hotspur as well. Like, as much as we helped them out last season with Regulon and we're just like, yeah, no fee, you can just have Regulon to help you out for free for half a season. There's no chance Man United return that favour, is there? So in terms of Marcus Rashford, I just can't see where he goes.
But as well, in football, 6 months is a long time. I don't see him moving anywhere in January, to be honest. I think he's probably going to stay till the end of the season. But you never know in football. Things change all the time. How many times have we seen a player in this position and then 6 months later the whole situation's changed? And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a few months under Amorim. He trains his way back into the team. He starts hitting good form, and all of a sudden, he's thinking, why do I want to leave? I'm at my boyhood club, and actually the best place for me to stay is right here. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in that way as well.
Look, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But, just watching him play, I just wouldn't want to see him at Spurs. Unless it's just a short-term thing, just to help us out with numbers from now to the end of the season. And let's say we can cancel the Timo Werner loan in January and bring in Rashford. I do think that's a big upgrade. In terms of quality. So I would be open to that, but a long-term transfer, I wouldn't.
If he comes in and smashes it, why wouldn't you be open to it?
Because I just think it would be he would revert back to type eventually. That's the thing. You're going to have the big outlay. But look, there's no point going round in circles and going on about it even more. But look, we'll see. I'm sure if he came in from now until January and he does smash it, my opinion would change. But this is my opinion before anything is to happen, and nothing is going to happen anyway, so there's probably no point even talking about it. But you're talking about head-to-head between Spurs and Man United. It's looking good at the moment. 4 games without a loss, 2 draws, 1 at the Tottenham Stadium, 1 at Old Trafford, and then 2 wins, 3-0 and 2-0. Obviously, the 3-0 at Old Trafford earlier this season, where Bruno sending off did help the fact that Spurs going and really taking Man U to the sword. And maybe Bruno actually, on the back of that red card, might be chomping at the bit to prove a few people wrong in this game, because it was a bit of a soft red card, wasn't it?
It was, but we were, well on top before that, albeit it was only 1-0, I think, at the time. But, I think most people will agree that Spurs were much the better side before the red card, and I don't think it influenced the game too much, the fact that he got sent off.
I feel like Man U came out, though, in that second half a bit better, and then that red card kind of, the momentum just kind of shifted.
He got sent off
again.
in the first half.
Oh, sorry, it did, yeah. Well, they did start the second half well, though, with 10 men.
I think, we scored right at the beginning of the second half, and then they had a bit of a spell. But, yeah, I think we deserved the win. We were much better than them. But that's irrelevant. They've got a new manager now. It's a different set of circumstances. Will Bruno... I don't think Bruno's going to look at this game specifically more than any other that with a point to prove. I think he's the kind of guy, he has got good mentality where he wants to win every game, and he gets frustrated and disappointed when things don't go his way. And sometimes it goes into the avenue of being a bit of a cutting a frustrated figure, and he kind of acts like a spoiled child sometimes. But as well, that comes from a place of him just being always wanting more from the team, always wanting more from himself, always wanting to win games and to create chances, and he's that kind of player. So he's definitely going to be one who's, I think, been one of he's been quite good, I think, since Amorim's come in. I think he's been also one of their better players. He goes into that category, and I think he's going to be one definitely who's going to have a big influence on the game. I think Bruno, he's one of those players where if you stop him playing, I think he's kind of that linchpin in the team. He's the one where if he's not having a good game, quite often Man United don't have a good game, and he's kind of that glue in their team.
And also, he's a massive Sporting Lisbon fan, watches them week in, week out religiously, and he would have been a big fan of Ruben Amorim coming in, obviously the Portuguese connection as well, and he'll know exactly how they're playing. I think that's a big reason why Fernandes has kind of hit the ground. Obviously, he's a top player as well, but he knows exactly the system, he knows where he needs to be, and he's already got a connection with the manager.
Exactly. So no surprise that he's probably excited by the appointment. Albeit, where does he really fit in the system? Is it one of the front three? Is it a in the middle two? Is he, because you kind of call them the two number 10s, but is that the kind of player that Amorim wants? Look, I guess time will tell. Because I remember, it's a similar system to what Conte played. And he wouldn't really have fitted in that front three under Conte, really, I would say. But he also wouldn't have fitted in that. We didn't really play with a proper number 10. It was kind of like two wingers. I guess depends on how he sees the wing backs. If the wing backs are more wingers, then he could fit in the front three. If they're not, then I don't know where his natural place is.
Well, let's bring up the Man U injury news. Mason Mount injured, Mazraoui, I think he's a doubt coming into the game, and Luke Shaw, what is going on with Luke Shaw? Every time he comes back, he gets injured again.
Most injury-prone player in the Premier League.
Yeah, literally. But you look at that with the back three, Martinez, De Ligt, maybe Yoro, or maybe Maguire. It was Maguire last game. But Yoro has come in, obviously, got big injury when he first got there, and he's come back in, and I thought when he came on against Arsenal, he actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, look, he's like 18-year-old centre-back, but clearly one of the most sought-after centre-backs in the summer. Big clubs after him. Man United got the signature, and you've seen in the last few games why, because he looks big, strong, fast, and quite comfortable on the ball as well. I thought he was quite shaky against Forest, but I thought obviously when he came on against Arsenal, he looked quite good. Whether he starts, United actually, apparently Amorim's been a big fan of Maguire. He wants to offer him a new contract. He said in the back three, Maguire can do a really good job. So that'd be interesting to see.
That's always what you said.
I said that as well. I thought if we were linked to them under Conte, I said in the back three, I think he could do a good job. But we'll see if he goes with Yoro, gives him that experience. Does he go Maguire?
Who do you prefer for a Tottenham point of view, Maguire or Yoro?
Probably, from a Tottenham point of view, probably Maguire, only because if he is going to play Ahmad at wing back and Maguire's pulling out wide, I think that could be something we could work with. If he's going to play Maguire in the middle, then he's so good in the air, Maguire. It's going to be difficult to deal with. Maybe in that sense, I would rather Yoro. I don't know. He's got good options at centre-backs, doesn't he? Because he's been chopping and changing his team. It's hard to know what he's going to play because he's made so many changes since he's come in. He's trying to work out his best team. We've gone with that. I don't know. Does Anthony start? He's been saying Anthony might be an option at wing back. To be honest, and maybe he starts a wing back and Ahmad in the front three. Did you go Dallo at right back with Ahmad there? I kind of feel like he's not going to want to move Ahmad because Ahmad had a great game against City, so I think he's going to want to keep him in that front three. I think Malacia will get some game time in this one just to build his fitness, and given that's a Carabao Cup game, it's a good opportunity to do that. But he's also going to want to play a strong team on top of that. He's not going to want to play a completely weakened team. So I do think the likes of Bruno and Ahmad play. Mainu came on off the bench on the weekend, and he'll probably start. So, yeah, Ugarte had a great game against City, didn't he? Is he going to carry him on, or is Casemiro coming in? It's really impossible to say what his lineup's going to be just because of his rotation.
It's an interesting one, Manuel Ugarte, isn't it? Because he's been pretty poor since coming into Manchester United in the summer, whether it be the system, the wrong managers, wrong whatever. But Ruben Amorim got the best out of him. He's made his name at Sporting Lisbon. So he knows exactly the system, and he knows exactly how to get the best out of Manuel Ugarte. And it's no surprise to me that Ugarte is having his best time at Manchester United now that Ruben Amorim has come in. So I got a feeling it will be Ugarte to play. I feel like he's going to be his go-to guy. Casemiro, will it be him? Will it be Mainu? I think it will probably be Ugarte and Mainu in the midfield, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he does give Ugarte a bit of a rest this week. So in this one, we've gone for Casemiro and Mainu in the middle, with Ahmad and Malacia at wing backs. Could be Dalot at wing back with maybe Malacia in the forward line. But which way do you think he'll
Ahmad
go?
in the forward line.
Yeah, sorry, Ahmad in the forward line.
Well, I think he'll go Ahmad in the forward line. I think Dalot will come in at right back, and I think Malacia will get a go. I don't think he's going to want to move Ahmad. There's no reason to, really. I think he had a great game. He's want to keep in that position. Does he go Xerxes or Højlund? I'd much rather see Xerxes than Højlund. I'm not a massive fan of Xerxes, albeit he's done all right since Amorim's come in. But
He's scored those 2 goals against Everton.
yeah, but I still think he's a lot easier to deal with than Højlund. To be honest, I think Højlund's a bit more of a handful than Xerxes. So I'd probably rather see Xerxes there up front from the start. It depends on where does Amorim see this as another opportunity to try players out and try formations, or is this a game to win? Because I feel like ever since he's come into Man United, each game he's chopped and changed just to try different things. Even the game against Everton, they won 4-0. Then the next game he changed it up because he wants to see different players.
Yeah, I was so frustrated then because you go into the Arsenal game on the back of a 4-0 win. I think it was the Arsenal game after Everton. And you're expecting to see the players that did so well, and then like none of them started.
Yeah, but I understand that, and it's as a United fan, it'll probably be frustrating. But he's got similar to what Andrew was saying last season. Like he's got a whole squad to assess, doesn't he? And he has to see them play at some point. Especially he hasn't had a pre-season, right? So the only way you can see them play is in games, unfortunately. And yes, you need wins, and yes, he needs points, but as well, he needs to assess that squad. He's not going to do that just playing the same players every game, and he's not going to know who's the best fit for what position and who's how each player is in game. And unfortunately, because he's come mid-season, this is the hand he's been dealt. So the only way to do that is by dealing with it how he is, which is chopping and changing. So that's kind of how he sees it, I feel. And maybe it's not the best for short-term results, but it is going to be the best for the long-term planning of the squad, and that's where his head is at, I'm guessing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a lot of changes in midweek. But does he go into this game with the mentality of this is a game to win, not a game to try things out?
I think so, because it's a cup game, right? It's a big opportunity for Ruben Amorim to come in, hit the ground running, and win a trophy straight off the bat. So when you're looking at priorities over the next couple of weeks, they've got Bournemouth on Sunday, we've got Liverpool on Sunday, and this game has got to be the priority for probably both clubs.
For us, for sure, because we know the context of the situation we're in. And I think even if we lose to Liverpool on Sunday, the league is so tight that can always be caught up quite quickly, even if we lose. As much as obviously you don't want to pull too far away, but teams are. If you look at who's the fixture list on the weekend, all the teams in the middle are all just playing each other. There's so many teams in the mix that they're all going to be playing each other every week. So those points can always be caught up at any point in the season. But once you're out the cup, you're out. And we know that a trophy is so big for us. Any opportunity for a trophy has to be taken with the utmost importance, considering how long it's been since we won one. I think Ange understands that at this point. I do think we're going to go full strength. We're going to go all out to try and win this game, and we're going to give it our best shot. Unfortunately, given our injury situation, does mean that even if we're at our best, it could be very, very difficult to get over the line. I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes to penalties, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised, given from what I saw with Man United. I wouldn't be surprised if they're struggling to create too many chances just because their system's not fully integrated. But as well, I wouldn't be surprised if we're struggling to break them down as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to penalties. But it'll be an interesting game. Yeah,
it will be an interesting game. And in terms of priorities, I mean, I don't buy into the fact that finishing below 6th or below 7th and winning a Carabao Cup is a good season. I don't. But if you're going to ask me, if you ask me right now, would I take a loss in the Liverpool game if that means 100% guaranteeing a win in this game? I would take it. But like you said, you can lose against Liverpool and still go on a big run after that.
We've got Forest who were in 4th on the Thursday, so immediately you can make up those points.
Exactly. So we need to we just, by hook or by crook, we just need to win tomorrow. We need to win. The fans need to do their part as well. Back the team throughout the 90 minutes. Make it a big atmosphere. And whoever's going to the game, just come back with no voice. Just come back with no voice, because the team are going to need us, particularly with the injury crisis. You know, Spurs looking a bit ropey in games at times, you know, in terms of energy levels. We just need to guide the team through the game. And I know I'll probably come on and say this here in the majority of big games, but it's a chance to get into a semi-final, people.
Yeah.
The semi-final. It's not like, you know, the round before last 16 where you're going into a quarter-final. A semi-final, double-legged tie for a place at a Wembley final in the Carabao Cup, probably, I think, late February or early March. So
how much do you think Ange will be judged on this game? Like, you don't think there's any chance like he's in danger of his job if he loses tomorrow?
Is he in danger of his job if he loses tomorrow? Maybe it depends on the manner of the loss. If we get absolutely battered, which I don't think we will, the questions will start to be asked again. But it depends. Like, if you ask the fans, I think maybe a few more fans will start to turn. But I think when you're looking at the club and if his job is in doubt, I don't think so, because there's still such a short amount of point gap between us and the top 5 and the top 4. And I think that's what he's ultimately going to be judged on by the club.
Agreed. But I also think if he wouldn't have won on Sunday and then loses tonight, I think it might have been a different story. I think that win.
But it was a massively convincing win. It was a convincing win. We blew them out the water. I know it was a very poor side, but the result is the result, and the performance is the performance.
I'm just saying, if we hadn't have won, I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So, like, I think all of that would have changed. That might have changed things. That win, in a weird way, has bought him that more time. It means that even if he loses on Thursday, I probably don't think the club are even considering anything too drastic.
I do feel like, as much as I've been saying, you know, gone by Christmas and all this kind of stuff, the more and more I think about it, and the more noise you hear coming out of the press and the journalists and everything like that, I do feel like Spurs are just trying to approach this project in a different manner than we have done in past. And I do think they're giving him a lot more leeway and maybe buffer space than they have to previous managers.
And I think that's the right thing to do, and that's what we have to do if we're going to have some sort of stability at this football club. And I think that's the right direction. And as much as right now, and even at some points early in the season as well, where things haven't been good enough and we've lost stupid games and whatever, I think the best course of action right now is to just stick with Ange and stick with the project, and that seems as though the club are in that same direction. But as you say, the more the fans turn, the more pressure builds. Be interesting to see if that changes. And then obviously, if we do lose tomorrow, it's only going to increase, isn't it? That fan pressure. And obviously, if we lose then again to Liverpool, all of a sudden that could be 2 losses in a row, and all of a sudden that pressure starts to build again. Obviously, after a big win on Sunday, I'm not saying it all is good, but obviously I did just relieve the pressure a tiny bit from the fans, because I guess the point is, it shows that, I think the fear was this team was so on its legs, and that we have so many injuries and we're in such bad form, and Ange is so stubborn, he's not going to change it. We're just going to go on this terrible run of form where we don't win any games, and even against a team like Southampton, we might even fail to win. The fact that we won so convincingly, and won, scoring loads of goals, showed that even in this period, we still got that capability of playing that football that Ange wants, even if it's just in spurts, even if it's not for 90 minutes, we're still capable of bringing it out of us. So we even showed that in the first half against Chelsea as well, that we're capable of doing that, albeit we didn't see it out. So I think the fact that we've shown that, even in this tough period, shows, first of all, the players are still behind Ange, and it shows that there is still capabilities of us gaining points, even if it means probably that we're not going to, there's still going to be inconsistency, but it still shows that we still go into every game with the hope that we can bring that football out of us, and that it's not going to be no chance that we're going to see that football.
Yeah, and I think the key point there is, the players are clearly behind Ange with the way they're playing at the moment, because if they weren't behind Ange, there's no way we go and batter Southampton the way we did, as much as how poor Southampton were. There's no way they show those energy levels in the opening half an hour of that game and go 4-5-0 up in the first half. So I think the players are clearly behind Ange, and whatever, I've heavily criticised Ange, and I've said what I've said over the past month or so, and that doesn't take away the fact that I've been very frustrated with Ange Postecoglou in some of the decisions that he's made, and maybe the way he sets us up sometimes and everything like that. There's, I have been very, very critical of Ange, but the reality is the way the fans were against Southampton in clear support of Ange Postecoglou, because no matter what I feel about Ange and the tactics and the gripes that I've had, I'm still fully in support of him. I'm fully in support of him, and I will be fully in support of him until probably there is no reason to support him anymore. And I feel that there is reason to support him. If the players are behind him, there is no reason to want a manager out because the players are clearly behind him. So the way the fans were in full support of Ange Postecoglou and showing the clear frustrations at the board, that is the way to go about this situation. And if that is the situation, and he does go and sack Ange Postecoglou, then that's even more reason to show more frustration for this board. And, you know, there's a protest plan for Liverpool. It'll be interesting to see the turnout there. But, look, Ange Postecoglou needs to be fully supported in that stadium on Thursday night as well, and as well as the players. So let's hope for a big atmosphere. Let's hope that we do go through. If it does go to penalties like you're predicting, do you think we've got a good chance of going through, like in terms of the penalty takers? I think we probably...
Penalty savers.
Oh, God.
We've seen Forster in a shootout before and it was not pretty. Hopefully he's learned from that, but that was... it's hard. You know what? It's very, very rare for a goalkeeper to come out of a penalty shootout with criticism. It's extremely rare. But that is the one shootout you can say where that was one of the worst attempts at saving penalties I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was horrendous. I've never seen such a keeper with such bad attempts at trying to save penalties.
Yeah.
Like, you usually think goalkeepers go into a shootout with nothing to lose. And he literally, that shootout was so bad, it convinced everyone that Forster was a terrible keeper. Yeah. Even though we're seeing now clearly that he's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look... If it is going into penalties, are you looking for a substitution of the goalkeepers just before the penalty shootout?
I think just keep Forster. Hopefully, you can just cover them enough of the goal without picking it.
Oh, very frustrating. But look, what is your score prediction?
I am going to go for 2-2. I do think we're going to penalties.
2-2.
2-2.
Are we going to win on pens?
We're going to win on pens. Home stadium, fans behind us. Sonny take the first pen. We're going to win because it goes straight to pens, no extra time.
Yeah, no extra time.
So I don't think we'll be taking him off if it goes to pens or anything.
I think we're going to edge it. I think we're going to edge it 2-1. I think it's going to be a really nervy encounter tomorrow night. It's going to be one of those nights at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Hopefully, we'll be all singing Free From Desire at the end of it, and we'll be going through to the semi-finals. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, we know the draw before, or
no, the draw's after the game.
After the game.
Yeah, so let's hope our name is in the hat at the end of the game. But it is a massive, massive, massive game. Our biggest game of the season so far. And if we do win, our biggest game of the season so far will be the semi-final. So hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that is our preview for the game against Manchester United. Let's get into some super chats just before we move on. Jory. Big up the Joracle says, I think Levy is looking for an opportunity to sack him. No extra games next season is a disaster for Levy, but he can't while the squad and fans back him. Do you believe that?
I don't, because I think a few weeks ago he could have sacked him. I think a lot of... Look, I do think at the moment, if you like, we've done polls, haven't we, throughout this process, and throughout the process it's been majority Ange in. But there has been some wavering. It was as close as 60-40 at one point, and I think there was probably after like the Bournemouth game potentially. Like if he would have sacked him after that game, like would there have been an uproar? I mean, maybe there would be some section, but my point being, like I don't think he's needed an opportunity to sack him. I think the results have been bad enough where he could have sacked him, and I don't think Ange himself could have complained. If you know what I mean. So I don't think he's needed an opportunity. I think as a club, hopefully we're sticking by him for the time being, because that's the direction we're going in, instead of just chopping and changing. Like you think of managers who've been sacked mid-season, like AVB, Conte, Mourinho, Nuno. You know, we've sacked a lot of managers mid-season for not as bad results as what Ange has had. So I don't think it's the fans that are keeping him in a job at the moment. I just think we've decided to stick by him.
I think it's not just the fans keeping him in a job, but I think the players. I think because the players are so evidently back again, you know, with Romero came out, I think it'll be just a massive mistake to sack him at this moment in time because of it. I mean, if you're talking about just results, he probably does. He could have been sacked, like you're saying. So I think it's a massive thing that the players are backing him, and the massive thing that the players are still playing for him. And I think that's what's massively keeping him in a job.
And also, Spurs are very clever in terms of how they are from a PR standpoint, right? Sorry, PR. No, they're not very clever. But what I mean, from a when they leak things, when if you remember,
We've seen it so many times.
Yeah, you remember the lead up to like the Mourinho and Conte sackings, always like leaking of negative things, bad.
Even the Poch.
Or Poch sacking as well. They said Poch was big brother and things have gone stale. All these different things. I don't know if they were true or not. But all I'm saying is, all these things have always been leaked in the lead up to them being sacked.
Overworked, underworked.
Yeah, all these things. So. And these are all leaks from inside the club a lot of the time, and there was always in the build up to a manager being sacked. So if Spurs wanted to sack him, right, they would be leaking negative stuff right now, and they're not. So that gives me the impression that that's not the direction they're going in at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're going to move on to a Tottenham update.
Samuel Lynch says, best YouTube channel.
Big up to Samuel Lynch. Thank you so much for the super chat there. Big up to yourself.
And Connor says, lads, how is your grandpa doing?
Grandpa.
He's in hospital again, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's in hospital. So if everyone can just send their best wishes to him, and we'll pass on the message. But thank you for checking up on him. It means a lot. Let's move on to a Tottenham update next. We've got a couple of transfer tidbits to talk about that's doing the rounds on the press at the moment. And we're going to start off talking about that old chestnut Milan Skriniar.
Oh, come on.
No, we're not in Milan to talk about. There's been no pictures of...
always 5 years.
What was his name? What was the old sporting director's name that was out in...
Steve
Hitchin. There's no pictures of Steve Hitchin out in Milan going to talk about him. But Gazzetta Italia are saying that Spurs are interested in PSG defender Milan Skriniar and are credible candidates to land him. It's obviously come out in the press, hasn't it, that PSG want to get rid of Milan Skriniar as early as January. Would you take him at Spurs? How old is he now? Is he 30?
He's probably over 30, I think, at the moment. What's Milan Skriniar? Maybe not, actually. Because I think didn't he sign... How old was he?
He's 29.
Yeah, he's 29, so just under 30. Obviously, still a great defender. I know he has had a great time at PSG, but let's be honest, like... PSG at the moment are just a bit of a mess. They don't really know where they're going, albeit they are top of the league, but obviously they do win the league every year. We've seen good players not work out there and stuff like that. I don't think just because he hasn't worked out at PSG means he's a bad defender. Is he right for Tottenham? If you ask me under Mourinho or a Conte, I would have said 100%. Under Ange, look, don't get me wrong, if we were to sign him, our centre-back cover definitely improves, and I'm sure he could do a job. Is he the perfect fit? No, he just isn't. I don't think he's the best ball player, albeit I don't think he's terrible, but he's just not like brilliant at it. That's not his big strength. He's a really, really good defender. He's really brilliant in the defensive side of the game. But is he he's always seems to be very good at teams who like to sit back a bit. Is he good at a team playing front foot? I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of his game. Would he be caught out too much? He's not the quickest defender as well. So, as much as are you asking me, is Skriniar better than Van de Ven, Romero, and Dragoshin? There's a very good case that we could sign him and he could potentially, as a defender, be our best defender.
As a pure defender, yeah.
But is he the best fit for the squad or how we play? Probably not. That's the reality.
I completely agree with that. And I was just checking up the wages he's on. He's on close to 400 grand a week.
Yeah, and that's also another stuff.
PSG would have to heavily subsidise those wages. They'd have to pay probably 3/4 of them, pretty much, if Spurs are going to sign Skriniar. So, I don't think this is a starter. I think, if we had Conte here, I think, I would have loved to see Skriniar at the club, but I just can't see this being a viable option. Next up, we're going to talk about Davide Fratesi. We've spoken about him quite a bit over the past couple of weeks. A publication called Inter Live saying that Tottenham do want to sign Davide Fratesi when the transfer window opens next month. Inter Milan will not sanction a loan move, though, unless there is an obligation to buy set at around 35 million euros. Spurs are willing to significantly improve his current salary.
What is his current salary?
I'll check now.
I like Fratesi, really good technical midfielder. One of those midfielders who's quite good at making late runs into the box. He reminds me of a kind of a more kind of structured version like Dele Alli, not so like free willed, but like gets those one in. I'm trying to think of a description of kind of what kind of player he is in the Premier League.
He earns 100 grand euros a week.
We're going to really significantly improve that. Maybe 150 if we really want him, I guess. But that would make him one of our top highest earners.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a player that we desperately need. He's not like a player who's aggressive or like really good in like duels in the middle. Albeit he's not like the worst, but that's not his strength. His strength is late runs into the box, getting on the end of things, getting goal contributions. Also good passer of the ball as well. Really good technician in the middle. Does he improve our squad? Yes. Does he improve our first 11? I'm not convinced, to be honest. Maybe, but is it a massive improvement? I like him. I think he's a good, solid player. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. And if he's part of your squad, like he's a good squad player, is he a player who like gets into any of the top 6 teams? Is my point. I don't think.
But I mean, he plays every game pretty much for Italy.
Yeah,
he just can't really get a consistent. He literally starts for them.
Italy aren't in a great way though at the moment.
But he literally can't get a consistent game time for Inter Milan. That's the thing. So it's one of those weird situations where he plays for his country pretty much every game, but then can't start for his club.
He's not a bad player. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bad, and probably does improve us. But I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those players where he's probably at his ceiling. I don't know how much better he's getting. I don't know.
How old is he?
25, something like that.
25, yeah. It's not a bad age as well when you're talking about bringing in some experience, but I'm probably looking at, if I want to bring someone into that midfield, I wanted to see it like better than the level that we've got now, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't come in as ahead of like Decky or Maddison in the 10. Could he come in for Sarr? Maybe, but he's not as physical as Sarr. So are we losing too much physicality there? So then all of a sudden, where's the physicality coming from? So it just doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Next up, we're going to talk about Abdulkadir Kuzanov of Lens. A publication out in France called La Voix du Nord say that Spurs scouts have travelled to France on several occasions this season to scout Kuzanov and he's caught their eye with his impressive displays for Lens this season. However, the North London club are not the only ones plotting a move for the youngster. The centre-back's impressive displays have also caught the attention of PSG and Newcastle. In fact, all 3 clubs have put the Lens starlet on top of their list for the upcoming January transfer window. I saw some clips of him on social media the other day. This guy looks absolutely rapid.
Yeah, it's definitely doing the rounds. It reminds me of when that Van der Ven tackle went viral just before we signed him. So maybe they're doing the same. Clearly, he's someone with the pace. He got 37 kilometers an hour he was running, which is mad pace. So
the funny thing is, though, with that clip, though, he didn't actually win the ball.
No, he did not. Unlike Van der Ven, who made a goal-saving challenge. So look, when it comes to someone who could be a backup for Van der Ven with that kind of pace, I can understand our interest. And with Van der Ven, we can't seem to keep him on the pitch for more than 25 games a season. We're going to need someone who can fill in there. So maybe he could be the guy potentially.
Yeah, he is right-footed, not left-footed. So does that come into his thinking?
Maybe. Can he play on the left side is the main thing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure where he's been playing for Lens this season. It just says centre-back. It doesn't say on the left or on the right.
Kuzanov. How do you spell that? Don't even know.
It looks like they play a back 3 and he plays the right centre-back in the back 3.
What's his passing stats, though? Yeah, it doesn't seem to be passed too much. Very strong, it seems like a very aggressive centre-back. He's got very strong tackling interceptions, which means he really goes for things. Doesn't wait for defenders. Attackers, sorry. Pass completion is not bad, but he doesn't attempt too many passes. Oh, but you know what? His pass completion's good, and his progressive passes is not bad as well. So maybe they're looking at those metrics and thinking, if we can get him on the ball more, then actually he can be a good passer.
Interesting. So look, I think it's definitely one to think about. One of those under-the-radar centre-backs that's making their name in the game, 20 years of age at this moment in time, and one that's really emerging this season for Lens, Uzbekistan international.
Could be an interesting one in January potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, we're going to talk about a goalkeeper that goes by the name of John Victor of Botafogo. UOL, I think they're a Brazilian publication, say that Botafogo goalkeeper João Victor Maciel Furtado could be an option for Tottenham in the January transfer window. And Peter O'Rourke says that Man United and Tottenham are among the number of European clubs eyeing a move for the Botafogo goalkeeper. Victor has emerged on the radar as a host of top European clubs are following his success with Botafogo this season, playing a key role in their historic double of winning the Copa Libertadores and the Brazilian League. His form saw him voted as the best goalkeeper in the Copa and the Brazilian Serie A, and unsurprisingly, he has attracted interest from teams in England, Germany, Portugal, with Botafogo bracing themselves for offers for the talented goalkeeper.
Yeah, but the guy's 28, so does he want to come in and be a number one? And once Vicario's back, is that going to happen? I don't know. Obviously, if he comes in and we have two very good goalkeepers, then I'm happy with that, but I just think John Victor probably won't want to come here right now. Yes, he'll get a run in the team until March, and if he's that good, maybe he can keep Vicario out of the team, but I don't know if is that the kind of keeper we're looking at, a keeper who's at that kind of age, or do we want a younger keeper who's more willing to kind of bide his time? Yeah,
it's interesting to see which way we go, because we've got young goalkeepers that, that are supposedly got a big future. Josh Keeley's doing really well right now for Leyton Orient. You've got, what's his name?
Austin?
No, not Gunter. Luca Gunter, that had an unbelievable season last year for the under-21s. He's not on loan anywhere. He's not even playing for the under-21s this season. He's just like in and around the first team squad training, which is interesting. So we do have those kind of young goalkeepers, which they've got high hopes for. So maybe they are thinking go for someone a bit more experienced and give them maybe more game time in the Cups and Europe.
Maybe. I mean, that'd be interesting if they do go that way, but he seems like he's ready to be a number one somewhere.
Yeah.
If he's goalkeeper of the year and our team has just won a double and all that kind of stuff, I don't think he wants to come and be on the bench.
Yeah. But I guess I'd love to see someone. The thing is, though, I was looking into his stats and stuff, and he's one that's unbelievable shot stopper, right? Really physical, tall, amazing. I think he's 6'5" or something, and he's like really aggressive and physical when it comes to claiming the corners and all this kind of stuff. But his frailties are kind of playing out the back in his ball playing ability. So I'm not sure if he's one that will fit the system too well.
Well, Ange always said, don't pass it to anyone with gloves. So.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that is your Tottenham update. Let us know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories that we've brought to you today. And first of all, big up to Christopher Aliman for the super chat. No comment there, but just the super chat. So big up to yourself. And we're going to finish off the stream with our Predict the Prem show, seeing it as Thursday tomorrow, which we usually do it on, but it is match day and we won't be in. So let's get into Predict the Prem. And if you don't know by now, it is only 1 point between us, 149 to Sim, 150 to myself. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal. 2 points for an assist. And play along with us, guys, in the comments. Let us know your score predictions as we go through the games. And we're going to start off with a big game at Villa Park. Aston Villa against Manchester City. Both of us going for Villa wins here. Sim's gone for 1-0. I've gone for 2-1. Why 1-0?
It was 1-0 last year, if I remember, but I think Man City just look a team just so devoid of confidence, out on their feet at the moment. I was watching them in the Manchester derby. They didn't even look like they wanted to create chances. Like, they just looked so tired. There's clearly a lot of things wrong at the moment at Man City. And going to Villa Park, you need your energy levels to be really, really high to make sure you're getting beyond that Villa high line. And they're so aggressive. And Villa aren't in the best form themselves, but I'm sure they'll be up for it a bit more in this game. But I see them as well. They're so reliant on Watkins and stuff like that. I don't know how many. I'm sure they'll create chances, but I just got a feeling it's going to be one goal and they'll win the game, especially early kickoff as well. So 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, Villa are starting to score a few goals of late. I mean, they got 3 against Leipzig in the Champions League last week. They got 2 against, only 1 against Nottingham Forest. But actually, they did seem to hurt Leipzig quite a bit. I was watching that game in the Champions League.
Just
really,
like their manager, Leipzig.
Is that right? I mean, apparently Leipzig got like 0 points in the Champions League. That's nuts with the amount of games that they've played so far. Anyway, they scored 3 against Brentford as well a couple of weeks ago. And I do feel like that Aston Villa, when they play Man City at home, they do seem to find that extra bit of energy. John Duran as well, whenever he seems to play, he seems to put the ball in the back of the net. I'm just fed up of coming on these shows and just trying to back Man City up and predicting them to get points and to get a win. I mean, they just seem completely done at the moment, and they need to sign someone in January, and I don't think it changes until they do. And I fully believe they will do that. But until then, it's going to be hard for me to predict them to win, particularly away from home. So I've gone for 2-1 to Aston Villa. I still think Man City have got a threat, with the quality and the talent that they do have. But, I do think Villa are going to win this game. So I've gone for 2-1 to Aston Villa. Next up is Brentford against Nottingham Forest. Tim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 3-2 to Brentford. Both these teams are well within their rights to think they can take 3 points in this game. Forest, obviously fourth in the table now, going really well under Nuno Espirito Santo. Brentford, the best home team in the league this season. They just seem to score goals for fun, but they also concede goals for fun at home as well. So I've gone for them just to nick it 3-2, but I've gone for a complete end-to-end game with plenty of goals.
Yeah, I just went for a draw just because Brentford can't keep winning every game at home. They're going to have to drop points at some point, surely. And Forest at home, I think, is one of those games where they'll go into it feeling on top of the world and so confident they'll get the win. But Forest, away from home, are very, very tricky opponents. And they've got such... Elanga, obviously, getting his first goal of the season on last week. So he'll be a bit more confident. Hudson-Odoi's got quality as well. And they got the likes of Gibbs-White, so I can really see them hurting this Brentford team. But Brentford just have a way of playing which makes them so efficient in that final third that I can see them really hurting Forest from set pieces and all different kind of avenues as well with Wistron and Buemo. So I went for an entertaining 2-2 draw here.
Well, you say they got us to drop points at home at some point. You know what their next 3 home games after this?
Is it like the top 3?
Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool.
Well, there you go.
So we'll see what happens there. But next up is Ipswich against Newcastle. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, really big win for Newcastle on the weekend against Leicester, beating 4-0. They needed their front players to start contributing a lot more. And they did that. Obviously, Isaac got a goal. Murphy got 2. And obviously, Bruno got on the score sheet. So it was a very big win for them. Very big win for Ipswich as well last week. Last-minute winner against Wolves, getting their manager sacked. And I've just gone for that little bit of quality in the final third to make the difference here. And I know Ipswich, tough nut to crack, even at Portman Road. But I think Newcastle just have a bit too much in this game. So I went for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like these are the games that Newcastle sometimes screw up. You're looking at their away form, and it doesn't make for good reading. 0-0 at Goodison Park, a 2-1 loss to Chelsea. They went and beat Nottingham Forest, which was a big result. Then 1-1 against Crystal Palace, and they lost 4-2 at Brentford last time on the road. So I can never really trust Newcastle on the road. And I feel like, as well, Ipswich have drawn a hell of a lot of games this season. I feel like another one could be in the offing here, and it'll be a really good point for Ipswich at home to Newcastle, but probably 2 drop points for Newcastle going into it. So I've gone for 1-1. Next up is West Ham against Brighton. I've gone for 2-2 in this game. I think West Ham have turned a little bit of a corner of recent weeks. They're starting to get some positive results, and the performance levels seem to be a lot better. Brighton going for a bit of a sticky patch at the moment, but I still feel like it's going to be kind of yin versus yang, very defensive solidity that maybe West Ham are going to bring. They've got the attacking players that can hurt Brighton as well. But I think Brighton, they're going to want to respond massively for their fans. They've massively let down their fans with that performance and result against Crystal Palace, but I couldn't really split the side, so I've gone for 2-2.
Yeah, as you say, I think Brighton at the moment, not really playing well at all, I would say, over the last few games. 4 games ago, 1-1 draw at home to Southampton, where they should have lost, really. They got really poor result against Fulham, poor performance against Fulham, where they lost 3-1. Leicester, they were 2-0 up and conceded 2 late goals. And then really poor performance at home to Palace last time out, where they lost 3-1. And they seem to be really struggling against these teams that are soaking up pressure and counter-attacking against them. And they haven't, in the last 4 games, seemed to find an answer against that. And I think West Ham are kind of the perfect side for that, especially where their form's been improving, their performances have been improving. Paquetá go running over to Lopetegui after scoring that goal, that penalty against Bournemouth, and hugging him, showing that they're still backing that manager even though he's under serious pressure. And I think this is a big game for them, and I can see them really soaking up that pressure with the likes of Bowen, Kudus on the counter-attack. I think they're really well set up to win this game, so I'm going for a 2-1 home win to West Ham.
All right, let's move on to a big London derby at Selhurst Park, which will actually be the second game between them in the space of a week because they play tonight in the Carabao Cup. But Sim's gone for 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. I think Palace, one loss in the last 9 now. They're really starting to turn the corner in terms of form-wise and performance-wise. Massive win, confidence-boosting win against Brighton as well, showing that they have an ability to soak up pressure against good attacking sides and really hit them on the counter. And those 3 centre-backs, I'm starting to be really impressed by them, Guehi, Lacroix and Chalobah. So I think they've all got good technical ability, all very big, physical, fast centre-backs as well. And I really see Arsenal forward line struggling to break them down and struggling to get any sort of physical advantage. I think Havertz, he's at his best when he can physically get an advantage against his forward. And if he can't do that, he's quite easy to nullify. Obviously, the likes of Saka and Odegaard, they're very reliant on those 2 players, and also on set pieces. But I just feel like in this game, Palace, the form they're on, the very narrow pitch they play at Selhurst Park as well, not much space to play in. That 3 at the back who are very physical. It's going to be so hard for Arsenal, I feel like, to get the space they need in this game. And we saw how hard it was for them to break down the Everton side at the Emirates, which, 9 out of 10 seasons, they win that game 4-0. But just in these recent weeks, they're really struggling to find those opportunities. And I see Palace also being unforgiving here. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I've actually gone for 2-1 to Crystal Palace in this game. I've gone for Arsenal to lose. Lacroix actually came out before today and said, we're playing really well at the moment. No team want to come and face us. And I kind of do agree with him at the moment. You're looking at their team, right? They've got really good talent all over the park. They've got Munoz at right wing back, who's playing unbelievably well at the moment. He seems to be a threat. You've got Mitchell at left wing back, who seems to be playing really well at the moment. Ismail Assar just put in his best performance in a Crystal Palace shirt in the derby against Brighton, 2 goals and an assist. You've got Eberechi Eze there and Mateta, and everyone knows the qualities that they bring. You've got the 3 centre backs who are top quality as well, which you've just spoken about, and you've got the physical presence of Hughes and Lerma in the middle of the park. So I'm looking at this Crystal Palace side. They've turned the corner now. They've got over the hump that they had in the early stages of the season, and I think they're going to be a really tough nut to crack, and I think they're going to keep growing up, climbing the league table now. Against an Arsenal side who are not really creating much at the moment. They are hard to beat in terms of defensively, but I feel like with the likes of Eberechi Eze, who can pick a lock, and you've got Ismail Assar and Mateta, who know where the back of the net is, I feel like Crystal Palace at home can actually get the better of Arsenal this weekend. So I've gone for 2-1 to Crystal Palace and a big Arsenal implosion in terms of the fan base incoming.
That'll be brilliant.
So we'll see about that. But let's move on to Everton against Chelsea. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 1-0 to Chelsea. I feel Chelsea will just about get over the line in a really difficult game. Everton, not really scoring many goals at the moment, but definitely not conceding many goals either. 0-0 draw last time out against Arsenal, but I feel like Chelsea are going to provide a bit of a different threat here and a much more attacking threat, which Chelsea have got, bundles of talent in their forward line. They're not losing many games at Goodison Park, but I feel like this is one that they will end up losing. But just about, I think it's going to be very tight, 1-0.
Yeah, I went for 1-1 just because Everton, off the back of that draw against Arsenal away from home, that'll give them a lot of confidence that they can kind of hold strong, sit deep, and they can keep Chelsea out. They're so strong from set pieces as well. I'm still, again, not convinced about Chelsea's defending. I think they're going to be vulnerable from set pieces in this game, in my opinion. I think Everton could find an advantage there, but I don't think Everton will be good enough to keep them out like they did against Arsenal. So I do see them conceding a goal, but I just feel like at Goodison Park, at home, off the back of a really great draw against Arsenal, I feel like they're going to take that confidence into this game. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw here.
And also with Everton, they've only lost 1 game at home all season, and that was the first game of the season, or first home game of the season against Bournemouth.
Brighton.
Bournemouth
or Brighton? They lost at home to Brighton.
No. That was the first 2. Then they lost.
First 2.
Yeah, but yeah, they're going really well at home this season, no doubt about it. Let's move on to Fulham against Southampton. Sim's gone for 3-0 to Fulham. I've gone for 2-0. I mean, no real explanation there. We know Fulham, unbelievable at Craven Cottage. Southampton, just on the back of sacking their manager. Is there going to be a bit of a bounce since the manager's gone? Are they going to set? We have no idea how Southampton are going to set up, because we're going into the completely unknown. But I think Marco Silva will have enough about, and Fulham will have enough about them to get over the line.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-0. Fulham are in great form. They've played some really top teams and come out on top, albeit a few weeks ago they did the end of a 4-1 loss to Wolves at home. But Southampton, I don't see them sitting deep. And even if they do they have that quality to keep out a Fulham side who are in really confident mood and are playing really good football at the moment? And This is a game where I think Fulham will be licking their lips. Time to get 3 points on the board and rack up the goals. So I've gone for a 3-0 win for Fulham.
Moving on to Leicester against Wolves. Both of us gone for the same scoreline here in Desmond, 2-2. And again, another really hard game to kind of analyse because Wolves have just sacked Gary O'Neill. We don't know how they're going to set up in this game. Leicester have just had their first loss under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And I feel like for Wolves, this is probably, you'd probably prefer it at home, but in terms of opposition, one of the better teams they could come up against just after sacking their manager. And I feel like it could be a really open end-to-end game. I feel like Wolves do have a bit more quality than Leicester, particularly in the forward line. But then again, Leicester do have the ageing Jamie Vardy, who just seems to be timeless.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a nice open game of football here. Goals at both ends, but couldn't really split them.
Yeah, I feel like with Gary O'Neill gone, the shackles might be off here for Wolves, where I feel like he's obviously a very pragmatic manager who likes to counter-attack, doesn't like to dominate. But with him gone, and obviously they haven't hired the new manager yet, I don't think. Maybe in time for this game, but he's in the works. I think Pereira is his name. I think the shackles might be off in this game. They might pour more men forward. They might attack Leicester. And I think it will actually suit Wolves and against a team like Leicester who are not great defensively. And I also think it will suit a team like Leicester who like to play teams who are a bit more open, need that space in the forward line to make the difference. And I think it could, as you say, I think both teams will give as good as they get here. So Leicester have conceded a lot of shots in the past 3 games, even though Ruud has got 4 points out of them. They do concede lots of chances. But if Wolves do let the shackles off a bit, then I think I can see Leicester creating chances here as well. So 2-2.
And it also could be Cunha's last game before this ban that's coming.
He's been charged, but apparently they could appeal it. I'm not sure. Which, I mean, I don't know what he's appealing. He clearly grabs the guy's face. So he's getting banned. That's for sure.
he grabbed a coach's glasses and then took the glasses off. I mean, how many games do you reckon he gets? Because
Kuda's got 5.
Kuda's got
7,
5
actually.
for 2 counts. For 2 counts
Well,
of
7. He got 5, then extended.
7. True. Do you reckon he gets like close to 10 games?
Well, Kudas was punching people, was slapping people in the face, so it was similar to that.
So you reckon same 7?
Between 5 and 7. Kudas is one though. He got sent off and then it got extended twice. I think it got extended to 5 and then was it 3 to 5 or was it 5 to 7? I can't remember, but. I don't know I think Cunha's didn't get sent off, so he's just going to get 1 ban.
I think it was 3 to 5.
Was it 3 to 5?
I think it was 3 to 5.
So, yeah. But then he got an extra one, I think, because he was going to be back, and then he got banned for like another one.
Was it 6?
Maybe it was 6. I can't remember. So I think it'll be probably 5 for Cunha.
I'm just checking with Kudas, like how many games he was suspended for. It says here he was only. Nah, that can't be right.
Well,
when was the Tottenham games? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games he was out for.
Out of 5 games, okay.
So I would say probably Cunha gets. I think he'll get more than Kudas, maybe just 1 game more or something.
Fair enough.
But if that
just because it wasn't a player, it was a coach.
Yeah, and it was just completely at least like Kudas was in a match as well. Like it was completely uncalled for just after the game against a coach. I think they will try and make a bit of an example out of him. And if he is out for 6 games, I mean, where does that leave Wolves? Because they're sitting 9 points after 16 games. Let's say he gets banned after this game for the next 6 games or 5 games, whatever. I mean, that takes away their biggest and only threat, really.
As I say, they're so reliant on him. They're
That's
like a one-man
saying,
team. So, I don't know. Big trouble.
All right, well, let's go to Manchester United against Bournemouth. Both of us gone for 2-1 to Man United here.
Yeah, I've gone for Man United to win. I think it's going to be, again, like I say, with a lot of Man United games, probably unconvincing, probably a stodgy performance. Bournemouth are very well organised, very well set. They press so well, but they're not the best travellers. So I think United's quality might shine through at home. And I think the way they set up as well could exploit a bit of what Bournemouth give. So I think Bournemouth will play well. They'll create chances. But I think United will take the points, 2-1.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Man U will soak up a lot of the pressure that Bournemouth give. I mean, Bournemouth, you never know which kind of Bournemouth are going to turn up. They're so up and down at the moment. And Man United and Ruben Amorim, he's just trying to feel his way through and find out what his best side is. I don't think he doesn't know it just yet. But I think Bournemouth, particularly away from home, aren't as good as they are at the Vitality. So I feel like Man United could get the better of them this weekend. So I've gone for 2-1 to Man United. Next up is a big game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham against Liverpool. Sim has gone for 3-2 to Liverpool. I have gone for 2-1 to Liverpool. And we spoke about in our preview for the Man United game how the biggest test for Archie Gray and Radu were as a pairing was that game against Man United. Well, this is an even bigger test against this Liverpool side who are massively consistent. Have drawn their last 2 games, so are we playing a bit of a wounded animal? Do they need to get? Will they feel the need to get back to winning ways as well with the best player in the league at this moment in time in Mohamed Salah? I feel like Spurs could be on the back of that, and I feel like Spurs will probably turn up and they'll feel like they can hurt Liverpool in terms of defensively because they have started conceding a few more goals in this latter stage of the season. Than they have done maybe in the earlier stage. So I feel we can get at them, but I feel like they'll just be too strong for us. So 2-1.
Yeah, in the last couple of games you've seen with Liverpool, they can be got at. Newcastle and Fulham have both showed that. They've both created chances and both scored goals. 5 goals in the last 2 games they've conceded. And I think Tottenham will be looking at that. Trent at the back, Joe Gomez at centre-back as well. Robinson's not having a great time of it, although he'll be out as well with a red card. And Tsimikas is injured. So, again, will Gomez have to move to left-back and maybe Quansah comes in, even more makeshift back line for Liverpool. So I definitely think Spurs will be thinking we can get at this back line for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham take a lead again in this game. But Liverpool have also shown in the last couple of games that even if they concede, they have this never-say-die attitude and they've got the quality to back it up. And do I see Tottenham withstanding the pressure that Newcastle and Fulham both inevitably actually you have to say they succumbed to it, to be honest, because Newcastle were winning 2-1 and Liverpool turned it around and made it 3-2 and it was a last-minute howler, and Fulham were an extra man up and they couldn't hold on to their lead. Such was the pressure of Liverpool. So do I see Spurs with their makeshift backline and probably tired after Thursday because I'm sure Liverpool rest players in midweek and we won't, and we're going to have to play a lot of the same players. So are we going to be able to withstand the pressure that Newcastle and Fulham succumb to? I just don't think so. And we also crumbled against Chelsea as well. So I think we'll probably fall to a defeat here. So 3-2.
All right, let's move on to the Star Men, and it's a Fulham head-to-head. And you know what that means? It means none of them are getting points. But Sim's gone for Raul Jimenez, and I've gone for Alexander Iwobi against a fragile Southampton defence.
Yeah, Jimenez will be licking his lips on this opportunity. He's having a good season at the moment. I think this will be a good opportunity for him to get a couple more goals, so I've gone for him.
Yeah, Iwobi has been brilliant this season. I mean, how many has he got? He's got 5 goals and 3 assists this season. Has he got more goals than Jimenez?
I think they're the same.
Same, which is incredible in terms of Iwobi. But yeah, it's definitely if it's going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from one of these two. That's for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens. That is our predictions. Let us know who you think will come out on top and what your predictions are in the comment section below. But get yourselves up for the game tomorrow. Tottenham against Manchester United in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup for a place in the semi-finals. Just 2 games away. At this moment in time, 3 games away from a Wembley final. So if you're going to the game, sing up for the boys, back the team, and let's go through into the semi-finals, people. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.